Good evening. Welcome to the December 13th Ways and Means Subcommittee. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Of the United States.
Roll call of the members. Councilor Janino?
Here.
Here. Councilor McKenna?
Here.
Here. Councilor Powers is absent. Councilor Sereno?
Here.
Here. Council President Zambuto?
Here.
Here. And Chairman Visconti?
Here.
Here. Quorum is present. There's just one item on tonight's Ways and Means agenda, an ordinance amending metered rates.
Okay. This item's been in subcommittee for quite some time. I'd like to first, if any of my colleagues have any comments on this, I'd like for them to speak first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
I just would like to vote this out tonight,
Okay.
if we can. Thank you. I don't want it to be put in committee again. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
If I
Council
might.
President.
Thank you. I hate, especially on my last night, to disagree with my good friend, Joanne McKenna. However, I've got a lot of problems with this, mainly what the criteria was for who chose who to be on what schedule as far as residential or commercial, how this happened. There's a lot more I want to know about the process here and how this happened. And I'm going to ask that this remain in committee and for therefore go to the next council, because I think there's a lot to be talked about and a lot to be investigated. So that's my position on this. I know it's not a popular position, but for 22 years I didn't hold popular positions up here. I don't intend to start on my last night. So that's where I'm at with this. I know there'll be some resistance, and I'm not making any friends, but this is what I feel is the fairest and honest way to handle this. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Ms.
I
McKenna?
respect my colleague.
Okay. Anybody else have anything to say about that? Let's,
Councilor,
oh, excuse me. Councilor Rotundo.
to clarify, we're talking about the changing of the rate scheduling based upon units, correct?
That is correct.
This is something that I disagree with in process. I believe that we should go to a tiered system, and that's why I have that disagreement. Moreover, there are ways to evade the process in which people who do not actually live in the property and live elsewhere and rent out the property can also get the benefit. Meanwhile, renters within thousands of various properties in the city having to pay a commercial rate because they rent. And that is, in my opinion, the equivocation of taxation without representation, whereas you give the benefit to one group and not the other. Each person is a ratepayer here. That's why I believe the tiered system is the better system. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Rotundo. I believe you have spoken on that as well for the last couple of meetings. Councilor Sereno, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say that I want to reiterate what Council President Zambuto was saying. I too feel that this is kind of a complex matter, and I know that we've dove into it a bit, but I think it needs to be further weeded out and discussed a bit further. I don't think, rushing tonight to make a decision. I think we have a whole new council session coming up. We should take some time and just really weed out and make sure we know what we're voting on and what the criteria is and why we're choosing that criteria. So I would ask that this be tabled until January as well.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Guanasso.
Although I'm not a member of the subcommittee, Mr. Chairman, I just rise to the occasion to say that I think my colleagues are correct. This is a little deeper than you think it is. And I think it's affecting a lot of longtime homeowners in our community. And I don't want to see that kind of activity occur that hurts the longtime homeowners. So I would ask that this be held over to the new council in January, and that they review it in detail to give a fair shake to all those who are affected by it. And so I rise to say I agree that we should table this for the new council. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I won't disagree with the will of the council, and I do agree that, we should, there could be some more dialogue. I would just ask, considering this is technically the last meeting of the year, does this go sine die, or can this be taken up quickly with the next council, or does this have to be reinstituted? So can we just all agree as a council, I mean, this is the Ways and Means, but this has already gone through zoning, et cetera, that we will take it up in the first of the year with vigor?
Absolutely, if that's the
Little
will of the
gentleman in
council, but
Group agreement? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I mean, I obviously want what I asked for, but I think it's unfair to try to speak for councilors that haven't been sworn in yet. So, I think the council is here, and the ones that are coming back can agree to bring it up as soon as possible, but I
I agree.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
obviously,
Thank you.
we have to
Yeah.
respect the
Right.
incoming counselors as well, and,
Exactly.
subcommittees haven't been made, so it's going to be a new motion that comes up.
Right, I don't want to make false pretenses here.
That's right. With that being said, I will give the floor to Mr. Novoselsky.
Thank you,
If you would.
Mr. Chairman. Again, I reiterate that I am not speaking as a city councilor. I am not speaking as a homeowner. I'm speaking as a tenant and a resident, and on behalf of all the residents and renters that have to put up with an extra $100 a month per person could be the next year. So, just to let you know, you are hurting the renters that are affected by this, and a lot of them don't have that $1,200 or so to put out from now until the new council decides what they want to do with it. Honestly, I think you're making a mountain out of a molehill. I think it's very simple that you're taking care of the owner-occupied people, which is minimal. There's about 40 residents in the city that are affected by this. And I think it would be up to the administration to set the rules and the guidelines of who would be or who wouldn't be eligible for this thing. So I am disappointed that you won't be bringing it up this year, and, so just very disappointed. And like I said, it is, like it was said, that it is sine die, and I don't expect this thing to move ahead very fast because everybody keeps adding to it. And, trying to do this and make it three-tiered is apples and oranges right now. And I don't agree with making it 8 units, because now you're even adding more potential money that's differential from commercial to residential. So, I think 4 to 6 would be a good number. It would be a minimal amount of people in the city based on the 62,000 people that we have here. And I think there was like 14 to 15,000 residences involved totally in the city. And if you only have 40 people out of that, thousands of people, I don't see the big difference. And all I know is that my rent is going to go up. And I just feel bad for those people that really can't afford it, and those tenants that are going to have to pay the price because you couldn't make a good final answer. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Novoselsky. On behalf of the committee members as well as some of the councils that have spoken, I'm going to table this and it'll be brought up next year. Okay, well, just informed, if it's the will of the committee to place it on file, then that's what we'll do. All in favor, all opposed? Thank you. And this concludes the the final Ways and Means Committee for 2021. Thank you.
Good evening. Calling to order the Monday, December 13th zoning subcommittee meeting. We'll all rise and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Roll call of the members, Councilor Janino.
Here.
Here, Councilor Guanasso.
Here.
Here, Councilor Sereno.
Here.
Here, Councilor Visconti.
Here.
Here, Council President Zambudo.
Here.
Here, and Chairman Keefe.
here.
Here, quorum is present. There's just one special permit application on tonight's agenda, and that's for 465 Revere Beach Boulevard.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And this has been in front of us for a couple meetings, as well as the General Counsel, public meetings as well. Last meeting, we wanted to get some more input from site plan review, if I'm correct, Attorney Simeone?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. We had met the condition relative to the 20 feet of side yard for the Revere Fire Department, having altered the structure substantially, which we'll go over with you briefly today. We're going to show you how the structure is going to be built to handle all the issues that site plan review has brought in now that we had that second meeting with them. So they have, specifically, they have two issues, and one of them had to do with sewer, local sewer in the area, and the other one had to do with having a pedestrian walkway along that way.
Correct. And so you were able to satisfy, there was the sewer easement, or making sure that there wasn't going to be any disruption?
But the proposal, as they say, is originally it was 98 feet long, the extension. It's now 73 feet. So they lopped off 25 feet of the building, which was 3 units, and they placed the 3 units on the 5th floor. This is the RC1 district. The height requirement is like 11 floors, so it was easily done. I shouldn't say anything is easily done. I could tell you that the merged architects and Mr. Salvo worked very hard to try to keep up with the time and the pace that we had. And so very fortunate for me and my client that they were able to address all those issues, working over the weekends and trying to make sure that they gave you the best product they could give.
Thank you. And then one of the other questions that came up along with that 20-foot easement, and I'm sorry if I'm taking some time from the chair, but was that it would not be disrupted with the overhangs. I know Councilor Novoselsky mentioned that last meeting.
Councilor Novoselsky did he was concerned that the height of the fire truck, the pumpers and the fire trucks, we were told, and I believe Mr. Salvo will make a short comment on that, I think it's 13.5 feet. And so I believe Elizabeth Whitaker, when she comes up, will explain how she handled that. I think they removed those particular they brought the building up and may have removed the extensions so as to make clearance. So there is clearance for the Revere Fire Department as pumpers, as requested by Councilor Novoselsky.
Okay. Do any of the councils, before I open it up, to have I think the architect wants to go over the proposal a little bit further. Did any of the, okay. Councilor Janino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say, this is a good example of where the community works with the council and works with the city on what their requests and the needs are and makes it happen. So here you have an example that, there were some concerns in the beginning, the council brought them up, architect went back, they addressed it multiple times, and judging by the last draft I received, it looks like all of the concerns were met. This is a situation where it's a Revere family, these are Revere people that live in the city, and the family is going to be remaining in the building, and we don't see many projects like that come across our desks. So I think it's a good project, and I love to see when there's collaboration between the people that are doing these projects and the council, and we can work together. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Guanasso.
Well, I can clearly state, Mr. Chairman and members of the council, as you all are aware, that Mr. Simeone, the Attorney Simeone, does not sleep during the weekend because we work the whole weekend, and contrary to belief of a lot of people at home watching this TV program, thinking that, once we leave this council chamber on a Monday night, that's it. That's not the case. The case is that we work whenever we have to work and to appease an attorney, it appease the public to make sure our residents have any concerns that they have and concerns of people who are applicants for any particular item that might come before this council, that we have to spare the time to make sure that we can review the process and be able to and capable to review it thoroughly, and then when this council meets on a Monday night, make a conscious decision as to how they feel. And I think this is a clear example. I made fun of it earlier in speaking with Larry and his applicants that, you know, he doesn't sleep. He works the whole weekend, and so didn't we. And so I appreciate him as an attorney giving the extra yardage to his clientele and certainly giving us the opportunity to have any of our concerns addressed prior to this meeting tonight. So I think we're pretty much versed as to what's going to go on tonight and being able to make a conscious and capable decision. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And Councilor President Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with my colleague to my right. I don't want to say how many calls I got this weekend and how much discussion I had with the attorney over many of these issues. And let me just say at the outset that my colleague to the far right said these are Revere people. So, you know, this is a project for Revere people, and they worked hard to make this acceptable to all of us, and I'm very pleased with the final outcome here. And it's not always for the big developer up here. Sometimes the little guy wins. So I'm supporting this wholeheartedly, and I appreciate all the efforts that went into making this work. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President. Councilor Rotundo.
It's funny when Arthur and I agree on the same thing, as well as I say sometimes with my colleague, Ira Novoselsky, but I have to give your attorney accolades for really working with this council and trying to make this project work. Whenever it comes to a Revere family, or for that matter, anybody that is involved with public safety, things of that nature that are trying to develop in the city of Revere, live in the city of Revere, we try to do our best to make that happen, and I think this is what's going to happen tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councilors? Okay. Attorney Simeoni, did you want to present anything further from you mentioned on the architects? Sir?
Yes.
Good.
So just as a whatchamacallit, this is it is lot 5A and B. It's 10,715 square feet. It's in the RC district. The proposal initially was 14 units, and we pared that down to 11 units. So there'll be 11 units, 9 of which will be one-bedrooms, and 2 will be two-bedroom units. We meet as Mrs. Whitaker will tell you, we meet the parking requirement. Some incredible work done by her staff to deal with the issue of the sewer that was worked on with Engineering Alliance, Rick Salvo, to make sure that we did not interfere with the existing city sewer. So we resolved the expansion issue. By resolving the expansion issue, people might understand is that that building now is 73 feet. It's nowhere near the house that's in the back. Now, there's been no neighborhood opposition, but, you know, Mr. Stringy had concerns, and we addressed those concerns. He thought it was a little too long, and so Mrs. Whitaker went to work and shut in the building, and so when you're looking at the plans tonight, you'll see that the building has been cut and put away from that one-family home in the back. As there's a high handicap space that wasn't there before, and I can only say that we're taking an opportunity to show people that things can be done with the remnant properties that sit between these two big towers. This is not the only piece of property on the beach that is owned by city people, and basically they're not willing to let it go, and they're not willing to consolidate it. They live there. You know, my clients live there, some of them. And so I think it's an opportunity from a policy point of view, so this council gets another application. They get to say, well, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it right. You're going to do it with good architects. You're going to do it with good engineers. You're going to work with the site plan review committee, because we worked hard. since 1983 to make that beach what it is today. So I'm hoping that we've made the right effort. I'm confident that Mrs. Whitaker and her staff and Rick Salvo and his staff have done a good job. And so I would like the opportunity for Merge to Mrs. Whitaker to make a presentation of the new design. And then Mr. Salvo will make the following presentation, and we'll address any issues the council wishes to talk about at this time.
I just realized you guys can't see it. So I'm going to do this. Okay. All right, thank you. Elizabeth Whitaker, Principal of Merge Architects. Good to be back. I feel like I was just here. So we have been working hard. Adrian from my office is behind the easel here, has been working super duper hard in the last week to try and address these issues that Larry was just discussing. And so I know you all have a copy, right? But this time I actually have bigger representation. So essentially, and just a little bit of a repeat, but I don't want to be too redundant, we did have to deal with that sewer easement that we discovered, and we've brought it back what was 20-foot setback to 57 feet, so we are now closer. I can do this, you guys. Okay, right. And so what we had was a 3-story building, essentially. Now we have a 5-story building. And it's the similar design. We just made it taller, and we made it shorter in the back. And of course, we've done some tweaks, because it's all about composition, and we've been working on that, and we'll still have some tweaks as we develop the project. But this is where we are today. We have 11 units, as Larry said, 2 2-bedrooms and 9 1-bedrooms. One of the 2 bedrooms. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I will let you guys flip it. All right, so I was just saying, we still have 11 units. We have 2 2-bedrooms and 9 1-bedrooms. 9 1-bedrooms. And I think we can just flip through the plans, Adrian, because I think you guys just want to see what it looks like. And so we also, to address that issue with the height of the fire truck, we took off the balconies that were on the lower level. We used to have balconies here. We just simply took those off, and then, of course, we added a story onto the building, 2 stories onto the building, so we added the balconies on those 2 stories. And this is essentially it. So we're well within or above the height requirement for the fire truck, which is here. And we have, again, the 17 parking spaces, which is what we need. And again, the design is the same. The cladding ideas about materiality that I mentioned last week, which is this combination of the light cladding. We're looking at a few different things, maybe a light wood or something called an Oco skin for this lighter gray-white. And then the warmth, and that's the back. The warm color is probably going to be a cedar or some kind of wood cladding. And this is an angle from the back, which we did not have last week. We decided to do it for this new building just to make sure we covered all bases, but that's the back elevation and view. And you can see how tall those balconies are off the back of the site because it slopes down. What's that?
I had a question for you, if I may, from the chair. I just had a few questions. You know, first of all, I am, you know, and Council McKenna's the artist of the group here, so she jumped on really quickly with the design of the building and what she would like to see, especially on the beach, and I know that she adores that. You did a very nice job of that. One of my tidbits of feedback, and I am not a designer, is the fencing and the area around it. Is there going to be ability to update that? I just don't think I don't know if that's just the renderings or if that's just what's the neighbors, but there's the fencing in the front, which I just felt like it was totally out of place. I don't know why you'd put a fence in the front of a beach house, but and then the back side fencing, it looks like it's pallet fencing by that rendering. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do. These are just photos from the site. We haven't really talked about, we haven't really talked about the fencing. Yeah. So this would be new. This is the new. Yeah. So the idea is that from the front, obviously, we're gonna want it to look great, right? And we're gonna do some kind of fencing that matches it. This is just kind of a schematic idea about the same wood. I haven't thought anything about the back, though. And if we go back to that rendering, Adrian, it looked like, yeah. Are you referring to this?
Correct there, and if you look at the rear of the property on that left,
Oh, right here.
right above it,
Is that our?
what is that? It's like
Mr.
a
Chairman?
It's like a retention.
It's a hedge.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
It's a hedge.
Oh, okay. Make him
But we'll
look
look into
nicer. Okay, wonderful. Draw some pretty trees. Arborvitae's would be nice. Gotcha. Okay, those are my questions.
All right, that's great. I also wanted to point out on this image, you can see we're in a pretty good distance from the neighboring house as well. And the previous scheme last week was tighter to it, so. Because we had to pull it back for the sewer easement.
Gotcha.
So it was kind of a win-win.
Thank you. So I appreciate your presentation. If I can, again, from the chair, I did want to put a few things out there from my standpoint. And again, I think that it sounds like the council seems to be overwhelmingly in favor, is whenever we're granting a project here, especially a special permit, it should, we should all understand that it should be about consistency. It really, the personality needs to be taken out, although we do appreciate that they're a wonderful Revere family. I like to look at it, that's some icing on the cake. I always like to look at the consistency of the project because you want to hold everyone to that same standard. So the biggest things that really get me to think is parking, because that's the biggest concern for everyone in our city. So you were able to satisfy that, and then making sure that you had the safety protocols, so you can get fire apparatus down there. Lastly, just, upgrading the neighborhood, considering that standard, because like Attorney Simeone mentioned, we don't want someone to come down here tomorrow with another proposal for the one right down the street, just haphazardly putting something together. So I will give you credit that it looks like you put together a really nice proposal, regardless of the people that are involved, although they are very nice.
Thank you.
So I just, that's how I vote on my merits.
Yeah.
And I just want to make
appreciate
sure
that.
that we're clear about that.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, we're trying to be a catalyst, for good design along the strip, but also for these skinny sites, right? The remnant sites, I think you called it, Larry. Yeah, so I appreciate that comment. Another win-win-win about pulling it off the back is we're further away from the wetlands on that backside.
And I know Concom will be involved in that, and they'll make sure that they protect that end of the city. I know that the people over at the fire department, especially Mr. Cheever and his crew, are gonna make sure that from that end, it's all gonna be taken care of. I was very glad to see that you were able to reduce the size of the units. I mean, again, we've gotten no negative feedback from the neighborhood, that's another positive, so, and you were able to reduce the amount of the sizing, and you were able to come up with the parking, so. For that reason, I will be in favor this evening, but I'm not sure if any of the other councils have any questions. Oh, Council Serino and Council Visconti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wasn't going to speak tonight on this, but I just want to echo your sentiments. I'll be totally honest. Obviously, I wasn't at the last meeting, but the meeting before that, the first rendering with the 16 units, and the first time I saw it, I was really against. But you guys have really, you've put your heads together. You've addressed some of the issues and concerns that I had, particularly around parking, sizing, and even just general aesthetics to fit the neighborhood. So I appreciate the hard work, and again, no neighbors seem to be opposed and whatnot. So I will be in support of it tonight as well. Thank you.
Thank you. We were told more beachy, so we did that.
Council Visconti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, it's more beachy, more contemporary. And like my colleague said, the first rendering, it was a no, okay? It was a hard no, too. And the fact that you've met the requirements as well, and you've put your heads together to come up with something that is a nice building will force me to vote yes on this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. And if it looks like we have enough of an agreement on the process. What I would say is, if I could offer one special condition to be added, I would imagine you would be amenable to this, is the landscaping and fence design to be approved by site plan review, on top of what you already have. No objection? So, Madam, yes,
Just so for the record, you've been given a draft decision and proposed findings, which is the normal course of things to do? Excuse me.
Yeah, okay.
So you've been given a draft decision and findings?
yep, so we would vote with the accepted findings.
Yeah, so that we gave two findings were adopted, not the first one for site plan reviewers, but rather finding 2 and 3 were adopted, and they're in my decision, so the clerk would just add that as
Yep.
to the.
And you can waive the reading. In addition with the condition of the landscaping and the fencing.
Yes.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Shall the zoning subcommittee offer a favorable recommendation on the proposed special permit? Counselor Janino?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Guanasso?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Sereno?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Visconti?
Yes.
Yes, Council President Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes, and Chairman Keefe?
Yes.
Yes, the special permit has been approved, receive a favorable recommendation for the full city council.
With that, we conclude tonight's and this year's zoning subcommittee meetings. Thank you.